listening to the Decarbonisation Dialogue, a podcast from Salix.
Welcome to Delivering on Climate Change, our collective challenge. Welcome to the Decarbonisation Dialogue. I am Hannah Walker, and I believe that the best way to communicate a message is by being passionate about what you are talking about. Through that passion, I believe you use your influence and take people with you to create action and make a difference. Our task today is to turn our actions into a positive legacy and make our impact count. My guest today is Jon McGarrigle, who is Head of Energy and Performance for Cardiff and Vale University Health Board and is responsible for energy management. He is the project manager for strategic energy schemes for carbon and cost reduction and other engineering programmes, and is the author of a range of policies and procedures for the Health Board. He has more than 30 years energy management experience and engineering experience. During his career, he's been Energy Manager of the Year finalist, a part-time lecturer, and is a fellow of the Institute of Mechanical Engineers. Today, he plays a crucial role in driving forward the organisation's carbon reduction initiatives, energy efficiency projects, and performance improvement programmes across the Welsh health estate. Jon's background is in engineering, facilities management, and strategic planning. Welcome to Jon.
Hello, Hannah, and thank you so much for this great opportunity. That's really kind. Thank you. It's a real privilege.
Thank you. Now, Jon, let's start by telling us, please, a little bit about your career and how you came eventually to combine health, engineering, energy, and, of course, climate.
Thank you for the question, Hannah. Well, I originally trained as a mechanical building services engineer for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. And I was always interested in making systems more efficient and more economical to run. And also in college, I was drawn to energy and fuel-related subjects. And then an opportunity arose where I then moved into the manufacturing industry, undertaking various energy and environmental research projects for a major international cosmetics organization. This included aerosol waste minimization, steam distribution system optimization, and effluent treatment. And I really enjoyed my experience there. And at that same time, I also had the privilege of being a part-time lecturer at a local university. As I had developed a good background in engineering and also energy management, I really then wanted to use this knowledge and experience in a complex and diverse organisation. And when the opportunity within Cardiff and Vale Health Board came along, it seemed to be a perfect fit for my career. Also, as the NHS has so many differing areas of expertise, I've had the privilege of gaining experience in a range of other disciplines as well, including transport and travel and environmental management systems. I've now been responsible for energy management for Cardiff and Vale University Health Board and other roles as well for over 20 years now. And the NHS is an amazing organisation, and I'm very privileged to contribute in a small, humble way to the healthcare and well-being of our patients. And I always do my best to follow the principle that patients come first. They are our priority. So that's really a bit of a very quick summary of my career pathway to date.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Thank you.
Thank you, and for putting such passion into that. Now, let's talk about Wales for a moment, because Wales' primary net zero target is to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. And I think there's legally binding 5-yearly annual carbon budgets to guide that transition. And I think the government also has a collective target for the public sector to achieve net zero by 2030. Now, you're all things health. Tell us a little for a moment about what the biggest challenge is in aligning health service delivery with ambitious carbon reduction targets.
Energy management within Cardiff and Vale University Health Board has a range of challenges, risks, or opportunities, depending on how we look at them. And there are a number of recurring themes. And I like to describe them really in the form of a Rubik's Cube, because I find that they're generally related in some way and have some form of interdependency. So they need the various faces to align in some way. So the first challenge we have is the age of our estate. Our largest site, University Hospital of Wales, and others were designed and constructed before or whilst the Beatles were still together in the 1960s. Yes, they've been upgraded, but much of the original building and engineering infrastructure is still operational. And these designs, as good as they were and still are, do present energy management challenges. For example, building U values and insulation levels, heating and ventilation system designs and controllability, they realistically will not be able to be as efficient as the latest systems. That's the first thing, really, is the age of our estate. The secondly, we've got the size and the geography of our estate. We have 48 sites, including 2 major acute hospitals. And we have hundreds of thousands of energy-consuming pieces of plant and equipment just for estates and facilities alone. And this includes over 2,500 air conditioning and ventilation systems, nearly 300 boilers, and we operate a 4.4 megawatt CHP plant, combined power system. And there are many other complex engineering networks and systems all consuming energy. And these also present energy challenges to us. Thirdly, the NHS is a high-risk, high-dependency organisation. We're always open 24/7. Therefore, we never close. So all of the engineering systems and technologies must always work. Then we've got healthcare activity and associated requirements. These will always change. And we must keep up to date with that and must understand how it impacts on energy usage. And then we've got cost and resource pressures and energy market volatility. It continues to be a challenge for the Health Board and other organisations as well. And capital funding is required to invest in energy and decarbonisation. There's cost and resource to pressures. And finally, we've got decarbonisation. In 2021, the Welsh Government issued the NHS Wales Decarbonisation Strategy. And that gives details, key objectives that we're trying to adhere to. And decarbonisation and energy, generally they travel well together, but sometimes there is a little bit of a tension between the two, because when you are trying to, let's say, reduce our carbon impact for heating systems by electrifying them, there'll be a corresponding cost increase because the electricity tariffs are so much higher than gas. So there can be a little bit of a tension there. So those are just some of the 6 factors that I've pulled out. And in order to really develop our energy management strategy and a decarbonisation strategy, but also ensuring we have the optimum healthcare, we have to make sure that all those 6 factors and those 6 faces are aligned.
Mm-hmm. So it's really running that healthcare and making sure that people get the services they need whilst facing all those other pressures that you've talked about, like the historic systems. I mean, when you mention the Beatles, that puts it into a little bit of time context, and of course all the cost and the pressures around that. And of course the Wales Health Boards aim to achieve 34% reduction, I believe, in carbon emissions by 2030. And I think that involves new ambulances running on low carbon, etc., and LED lighting, etc. So thank you for explaining those challenges, because they are it is no small feat, is it really, to get on top of that and understand that and actually create action from all of those challenges. Which energy management strategies do you think have proven most effective in reducing both the carbon emissions and the operational costs in your experience with the work that you've been doing?
Well, firstly, we have a management response, which has been we've developed an environmental policy. We operate an environmental management policy. This details the aims and the objectives and themes that we want to achieve and the various responsibilities. And we've adapted other policies to include decarbonisation and sustainability themes. From this, we've developed action plans agreed by the Health Board, which have then been developed and approved and then implemented. And also we have a review process whereby we review what we've achieved in the last year to make sure that our program and our strategy is still fit for purpose. So that's kind of our management response. But we've also had a technical response as well. And for our technical response, we've had like a 3-tier approach to that. Firstly, we have an energy monitoring and targeting bureau system whereby we've identified and targeted uncharacteristic energy usage and profiles through the data. We've identified and addressed the issues with our estates colleagues, and the findings have been really constructive as areas of good practice have been highlighted, in addition to opportunities for improvement. Many of the improvements have been made by simple adjustments or changes, but have resulted in big benefits. For example, equipment left on overnight or at weekends, control panels left in hand instead of automatic control, and heating and cooling set points needing correction. That's the first stage of our technical response. It's really monitoring and targeting the data and finding out where anomalies are present there. Next thing, we have projects. These are generally standalone projects or smaller projects where we've sought funding within the Health Board. And these include things like reburnering our boilers, addressing the control systems where they've needed replacement, and also installing pipework and fabric insulation. And so that's our second stage of the tier process. And then finally, we've got a major strategic program, and this is called REFIT. And in 2016, the Health Board wanted to significantly reduce energy usage, costs, and carbon emissions on a strategic scale. And in 2017, we were introduced to the REFIT framework. And in summary, REFIT is a government framework whereby large-scale energy conservation measures are developed, they're designed and delivered via a third party. Funding is provided through the Salix program and is paid back from the energy savings over an agreed timescale. Our service provider was selected after a mini competition exercise in 2018-19 and works commenced in 2020. And REFIT has enabled Cardiff and Vale Health Board to really deliver the scale of the energy conservation measures needed to achieve the magnitude of the benefits we wanted to realise. REFIT also gave us access to resources and expertise through the service provider to implement newer renewable technologies and systems in a healthcare setting within the Health Board. That's been really, really helpful to us. And then REFIT has also given us access to the expertise of Salix, and we're so grateful to the Salix team and the Salix program for the funding mechanism to fund the REFIT program. So those are our three sort of technical approaches of how we've implemented our energy conservation measures. They have been proved to be successful. So we've firstly had a management response, but we've also had a technical response as well.
And thank you for explaining that. And I think you touched there on a little bit of technological advance and obviously the data, which we'll talk about in a moment. So we've got all of this. It's exceptionally ambitious and driven, and especially when you talk about the technical and then the management advancements there. But let's talk a moment about people, because you've got a large number of staff, you've got teams across the organisation, and you've got something called organisational culture. What part do teams and people play in achieving your energy and carbon targets, and how interested are they in terms of why are we doing this? Is it in their investment in active kind of climate change measures?
Well, a team approach is vital to the success of any energy and decarbonisation management programme. Within Cardiff and Vale University Health Board, there are approximately 17,000 employees, and they will have a significant impact on energy usage, as they will know how their departments operate and how their departments use energy. And we are so grateful for their support and their enthusiasm and their encouragement. We've operated a range of initiatives regarding staff awareness and staff encouragement, and this is an area that we wish to develop further, as it closes the loop between how we import and distribute energy in the Health Board and how it is used in practice for patient care. Furthermore, many of the ideas are readily available to trial and implement with no or low cost, so there really are readily available projects out there. Again, we're so grateful to the staff and teams who help us with that.
So let's turn our attention to the emerging technologies and innovations happening in the sector, specifically obviously in engineering and energy. What do you think has had the biggest impact, particularly on reducing healthcare carbon footprint?
I believe that we're currently living through history from a technology and energy aspect. There are many new ideas and technologies which are now available, such as electric vehicles, electric heat pumps, hybrid systems, improvements in controls and new controls technology. And it may take a little longer to see how these systems develop in the next few years, including their success in practical applications. But the biggest impact in reducing the carbon footprint on healthcare will probably be a blend of differing approaches and technologies, a hybrid solution, which will include existing proven technologies and conservation ideas, but blending these with new emerging systems. So we'll see a range of systems and methodologies, but working together to deliver a common goal. Firstly, that we've seen, as I've mentioned earlier, staff engagement has a key role in reducing energy and carbon emissions. And by working together, we will ensure that there is a positive and encouraging culture in ensuring that local initiatives and sustainable daily practices are being adopted. And we really do have an encouraging culture. It really, really is excellent. Next, we have our Monitoring and Targeting Bureau and Exception Reporting process, as I mentioned earlier, including the automated metering and data collection. We've, again, trialled new technology in that area, which has proved very successful. And this is fed into an energy database. And monitoring and targeting systems with a half-hourly data helps us understand in flight how our systems are performing and help us identify and address control problems. Again, in flight and not after a problem has arisen and then developed. Early identification and intervention can prevent much bigger issues from rising, and that's been really successful for us. Thirdly, we've been doing small to medium scale projects, including building fabric and engineering infrastructure improvements. For example, controls for our heating, ventilating and air conditioning systems, our steam and compressed air systems and processes. And many improvements can be low and no cost measures that can provide quick wins and savings. But finally, our strategic schemes, including existing system optimization and traditional energy conservation measures. And the traditional conservation measures includes pipework insulation and double glazing. These have been blended with new technologies, including solar PV schemes. And these include a solar PV roof for one of our main multi-storey car parks, 2 solar carports at other sites and other solar PV systems as well. We've invested very heavily in replacing a lot of our traditional lighting systems with LED, and we've replaced over 100 ventilation systems with direct drive high efficiency fan unit motors, which has again proved very, very successful. So again, in conclusion for the question, really, I just feel it's going to be a blend of traditional technologies with newer technologies working together to achieve that common goal. And that's what we've found most successful in our program.
You mentioned obviously the solar PV, the LED lighting, but of course that important issue of data collection and monitoring and making sure that you're seeing what's happening as a result. So presumably you can be flexible and change things where needed.
Absolutely. I mean, the data is key to much. And what I always say is let the data be the anatomy or the DNA around which you build your technical solution, because it really will guide you into where there are all sorts of opportunities.
Yes. Do you think that, because you've got those, you mentioned, I think 17,000 employees across
Yes.
It's quite a large number. How is that data, if it is at all, being shared with those people? And is there much interest in that wider from the team that's operating it?
A lot of the data is shared through various management meetings and management reports as well. And we are looking at pioneering more of that onto our intranet site and other mechanisms as well for our staff to engage in. But also we're keen to learn from our staff and obviously learn from departments to see what they would like to see in the information that they would like us to develop for them. So we're kind of currently working on that.
Yes, thank you. Now, you've got a huge, as I said, I alluded to your experience when I did the intro, you've got about 30 years of experience. What drives your commitment to sustainability and carbon reduction in healthcare for you personally?
I've always been interested in making systems more efficient and economical to run, and also in college, again, drawn into those subjects of energy and fuel-related aspects. I have a passion to protect and reduce the use of our fossil fuels where possible and reduce costs as well, because when we reduce costs, this can be invested in the clinical needs of the health board and patient care. Finally, we have a beautiful world and we need to protect and reduce the impact of climate change and reduce our environmental impacts. And again, finally, though, just again, another final comment. I'll go back to a previous comment that it's a real privilege that I can contribute in a small, humble way to healthcare of our patients and ensuring that healthcare is being delivered in the most sustainable and environmental manner. And this is a huge driver for me.
And my final question, Jon, is what advice would you give to other healthcare leaders trying to implement impactful climate change initiatives? We've got a long way to go, haven't we? And a lot to achieve in relatively short periods.
Absolutely. I think firstly, it's to determine what your baseline is and what your energy usage is. And you have to get the data or as much of it as possible. And also understand your estate and clinical requirements for energy usage. Because as the saying goes, if you can't measure it, you really can't manage it. This will show you where you are from the aspect of performance and also where the potential opportunities that are available to you. From this, you can then develop your outline strategy for your organization so that you can get senior management and board approval with a targeted approach, and contact other health boards and trusts for their advice, as we will have a range of common opportunities and challenges, and we can assist others as others can assist us. Thirdly, then develop the actions that you're going to be undertaken. Please ensure that they are achievable and deliverable. There's nothing more encouraging than when you set an objective and you achieve it. So make sure they are achievable and deliverable. So you need to have SMART objectives. Try where possible to keep the action simple, as they can yield really, really strong benefits. Communication. Communicate the strategies and plans, the length and breadth of your organisation, and identify and recruit the champions and resources you need to deliver it. As many great ideas can be birthed through discussion, and we're so grateful for all the encouragements within Cardiff and Vale from all the staff and all the managements and the Total Health Board as well, because it really, really is a massive programme for us. And I'm very grateful to our director, who leads Capital Estates and Facilities, for all his enthusiasm and encouragement. And then finally, just go for it and implement the plan, projects and measures, and capture and monitor the results of the actions. Again, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So also capture any lessons learned, which can be helpful when you come to replicate any initiatives in other sites as well. So that would be my advice going forward for anybody else.
Thank you very much, Jon. And I do love that idea of finding the champions, because they will lead the way, won't they? As well as all that good communication. Thank you very much to Jon today for joining me from the Cardiff and Vale University Health Board. There can be no doubt that climate change is the biggest challenge of our time. Today, we must reduce greenhouse gas emissions to slow global warming. Today, we must act for tomorrow, adjusting our lifestyles to current and future impacts of climate change. Today, we must use our collective wisdom to deliver on our climate commitments. Today, we work for tomorrow's world. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast channels, and please do email us at podcast@salixfinance.co.uk and let us know what you think, and also any ideas for future guests. Thank you very much, and thank you very much again to Jon.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for the privilege. It's been a privilege to be here and talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Decarbonisation Dialogue, a podcast from Salix. For more information about our work and to find more content, please visit salixfinance.co.uk/podcasts.